Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome in to this edition of the Steelers Q&A. It's the Sunday night edition, and it's yours truly, Jeremy Betts, here with you tonight. Just me. To be honest, very busy this weekend and did not have a chance to add somebody in for the show today. So it's just me, but that's all right. We're going to talk some Steelers football. As harsh as it may be to look at this team and try to find anything worth talking about, hey, at least we could vent on this platform, right? And that's what we're here for. Ask me your questions. The Steelers Q&A is what this is called. And I want to give you the best answer I can give you. And give comments if you're listening live on YouTube, Facebook, or X. Go ahead and hop on in and ask some questions. If you're unable to comment via any of the apps, you can definitely do so from YouTube. So definitely check that out. And I hope that you are able to join. It looks like we've got a crew already in. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a day now. It's been a day, and we've got a chance to wrap our minds around what happened yesterday. I did not get to see the game live, fortunately for myself. But I did catch the game later on Saturday night. And so very disappointed, obviously, especially with the fast start. You thought maybe, hey, this team's coming around. This team's got something going, some juice here. And then it just kind of all fell apart here. So goodness, I just think that it's going to be so hard to watch this team moving forward. After what we saw in the specifically the second quarter through the end of the Colts game, just no juice on offense, no juice left on defense outside of a couple splash plays here and there by TJ Watt. It's just falling apart all around the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin definitely in danger of his first losing season with a 3-game schedule upcoming that includes the red hot Bengals, the surging Seahawks, and the probably soon to be AFC number 1 seed Ravens on tap. The Steelers could get to 9 wins, I guess, if you take into account that the Ravens might have nothing to play for on week 18. And maybe you sneak out a win against the Bengals or a win against Seattle. Both teams can have bad days and maybe you get a chance, but it sure does feel like this team is headed for 7-10 or 8-9. And that would be absolutely the lowest point of the Steelers since Bill Cowher. I don't know, since Bill Cowher pre his Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I mean, this team has been above 500 since Roethlisberger got there in 2004. This is a momentous occasion. This is almost 20 years of 0 losing seasons for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, you know, everybody talks about Mike Tomlin's part in that, but Ben Roethlisberger played a huge part in that. And the culture around this team seems to be changing. So let's just jump into everybody's thoughts here. We'll talk about it. Let's start with some optimism here. Builder's Life says, let's go Steelers. We can still get in the playoffs. We can. We're going to need some help, though. The Bills looking like a surging team. The Bengals aren't going away. The Browns just keep winning football games. They are built to win. They've got more of a winning culture right now than Pittsburgh does, which is very, very strange to say and very sad to say, and very much a big time alert if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and part of that organization, that they are winning despite their injuries, and the Steelers continue to lose with their backups playing significant roles right now. So a good optimism there from Builder's Life. I it's still possible. Do we want to see this team in the playoffs? I don't know. I'm not sold on that yet. Builder's Life says Tomlin is staying. Yes, that is most definitely accurate. I would say unless he decides to leave, he is staying. He's got 1 more year left on his contract. I would assume that he's back for 2024 and this team makes a push. So let's talk a little. Who should the Steelers let go this offseason? From Richard Jankowski. Richard, there's a slew of them, but at the top of my list would be basically the entire coaching staff. And then as you trickle down into players, I think you've got to think you've got to make a splash at quarterback. I really do. If you want to compete next year. And I know that the Steelers are going to give Kenny Pickett another chance, especially in the offseason preparation part. He's going to get another chance to show that he can be the guy, whether they bring somebody in or not. But you've got to move on from Trubisky. You've got to move on from Mason Rudolph too. Those two guys need to be gone. There, it's old news and it's not going to work. Get fresh blood in that quarterback room, please, Pittsburgh Steelers. The wide receiver room needs a revamped. I think you got to let go of Deontay Johnson. I think you've got to get in an OC that's going to highlight George Pickens. And I know he had a tough game this last game, and he kind of got beat at his own game on one interception from Mitch Trubisky, but still Trubisky not putting him in a good situation. Quarterback play has been putrid. How can you not see that this wide receiver room is affected by that? Now, does that mean you keep all of them? I don't think so. Go get younger at the position, more explosive at the position when you're talking about speed guys. Deontay Johnson, I think you can move on from him. You've got to move on from Okorafor and Dan Moore Jr. I mean, there's a lot of guys to move on from. Move on from Keanu Neal and DeMonte Casey. Move on from those guys. Figure out the linebacker position. There's a lot that the Steelers should let go of this offseason. So we will keep tracking that for sure. But that's kind of my, off the top of my head, thoughts there. Let's see here. Afton asks a good question. Are you excited for any of the upcoming games at all? I mean, division games are always fun. I think the Steelers play better in division games than they do outside of the division, especially this year. So I would expect that this Steelers team is ready to play against Cincinnati in Pittsburgh. But whether that equates to a win or not, I don't know. I would doubt it at this point. But I'm excited for the divisional games left to play against Cincinnati and then at Baltimore. See what you can do. Go beat up on your division rivals and let them know you're still there, and then set up for next year and be like, hey, we know we can beat these guys in our division. Let's just get a little bit better all across the board, a lot better all across the board, honestly, and go out and compete in the AFC. I think we're seeing that defenses can adjust and this AFC can be wide open, and it doesn't have to do with just injuries, I don't think. So Steelers have a win against the best team in the AFC right now in the Ravens. I mean, they beat them at home, obviously, in Pittsburgh, but they still beat that team. So am I going to be like thrilled to watch it? Probably not, but I will definitely watch and keep track of it because it's my team, and also because I have to bring content to you guys as well, which I very much enjoy doing. We'll keep rolling here at the Steel Curtain Network, despite the issues that abound with this team. Let's see. This is a tough question. Eric Parker said, how soon before we start talking about how Cam Heyward got handled the whole game? I'll say this. It's his career's winding down, obviously. I think he is more up and down than he used to be. Used to, it was consistency across the board, right? Every game you knew you were going to get Cam Heyward's best game. You were going to get 110% from Cam Heyward on every snap. And now it's a little bit more hit or miss. There's more peaks and valleys in his game. And against the Colts, it was a definite valley game. That Colts offensive line is really good. Cam Heyward, though, you would expect to be better. He's getting old, guys. He's getting up there in years, and in football terms, that is. And I'm not certain that he's going to want to play much longer as it is. And not saying that he is giving up on games or anything like that, not implying that at all. But I am saying that he's in the twilight of his career, and you're going to start to see bigger swings in good and bad play. He can still make big plays at times, but it is going to be a little bit more volatile. That's the word I've been searching for this whole time. Volatile from Cam Heyward moving forward. Let's see here. Joe Pa, let's pop him up here. I never thought they had juice. Opening day told me this team wasn't ready for prime time. No injuries then. Talking obviously about San Francisco, who is one of the best teams in the NFL. And yeah, it was kind of a litmus test for the Steelers in week 1 to see where they were at compared to at the time assumed superpower, and they fell totally flat. So yeah, maybe we should have seen the signs coming. Maybe we should have seen the fact that this team was getting outscored and um, outgained, and still finding ways to win, um, winning close games, winning games they never should have won. Um, yeah, maybe we should have seen the signs a long time ago, like Joe Pa here did. um, it's been rough. It's been a tough season to watch, and my mom is a kind of she's a Steelers fan, but she was raised a Falcons fan before getting married to my dad, a Yinzer, and converting obviously to the black and gold. But she texted me today, the only team worse than the Steelers right now is the Falcons, and she might have a point. My family has had a rough go of it this NFL season with the teams that we're rooting for. So no juice. It's gotten worse. I think the team sees the decline, and I don't know. It's unlike. This is where I'm going with this is that for an organization used to winning football games, used to finding ways to win, used to always being competitive, the pressure and expectation around this team is huge. And when they're not meeting those expectations, it's going to affect them. When you see beleaguered squads that have lived in mediocrity or worse for years on years, figuring it out this year, and you were supposed to be good and you were expected to be good, and now you're not, that's going to weigh heavy on everyone inside that organization. Believe it or not, they can say whatever they want to. They hear what we're saying. They know the beat of the fan base, and it's not positive. And I think that reflects in the play and in the pressure that these guys are feeling. And they're succumbing to it because they don't have the juice. They don't have the band of brothers that was always talked about in the Roethlisberger days. And it's kind of in a league that is becoming more and more me centered. I think that is infiltrating the Steelers a little bit. So it's going to be tough you got to change with the times a little bit. And that is why this is an interesting tidbit here from Mark Lancaster. To the apologists that defend Teflon Tomlin, we're sick of you creating a culture that thinks regular season wins are the standard in the Berg. Mediocre Mike has 3 playoff wins in over a decade. It's true. He can't escape that. A great regular season coach, a bad playoff coach. At least in the last decade or so. It reminds you a little bit of Peyton Manning, great regular season quarterback, couldn't always get it together in the playoffs. He did it one time with the Colts, and then the second time with the Broncos, it was not about Peyton Manning anymore when they won that Super Bowl. It was about that defense. So, I think, if you're wanting to see change across the board, then Mike Tomlin is the guy that you want to see go. I still do think he can lead a winning team and a team that competes in the AFC, but can he get them over the hump? That is way up in the air. And maybe this is his last chance, 2024. It should be, honestly. Some people might think this year should have been his last chance. We will see. We'll see how the offseason goes here. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break a little bit earlier in the show. And then we'll come back and we'll answer more questions. We'll keep talking Pittsburgh Steelers football. We'll keep venting to each other. That's what we're here for on this show, where you have a voice in the Steelers Q&A. If you are listening live, don't go anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We're just going to take a quick pause for the audio show time to get in the breaks from our sponsors. So don't go anywhere. The Steelers Q&A will be right back. And we are back here on the Steelers Q&A. It's Jeremy Betts with you, answering your questions live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And then you can catch this wherever you get your podcasts when you search Steel Curtain Network, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you go. You can get it done. So Let's see. Let's see here. Looking for some. Okay, yeah. 1998 with Cordell. I think that's harkening back to what I was saying earlier. It's like the potentially the worst season since then potentially. So there's a lot of there's a lot of bad happening this season that we haven't seen in a long time in Steelers Nation. So okay, here we go. Mr. Steeler fan, trade Tomlin and get a QB, hire Jim Harbaugh as well. Oh, come on. No, we don't need no Jim Harbaugh in this town. I am an Ohio State fan, so I'm a little biased maybe, but come on, no Jim Harbaugh. Let's not do that, Mr. Steeler fan. And then I got to say something about this whole trade Tomlin thing. That is never, ever going to happen. Never. It's not going to happen. This team is not trading Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin isn't going to want to be traded. He's been open about that in the past. He doesn't even want to coach anywhere else. He said that if he's done at Pittsburgh, he's done. And that may be for a season or two, and then maybe he tries to come back somewhere else. But you ain't trading Mike Tomlin. It's not going to happen. Now, could you mutually agree to part ways? Yeah. Yeah, you could. But I don't think that's happening. They're keeping him through 2024 when his contract expires. Just mark it down in Sharpie, and I will maybe eat this hat or something. I'll do something crazy if they do end up trading Mike Tomlin. Get a QB though. Yeah. I think could an improved offensive system improve Kenny Pickett to where he's competitive? Yeah. But is he going to ever be a championship style quarterback? I don't think so. So if that's what the standard is championships, and that's what it should be, then I think you do need another quarterback. So maybe we'll get to Justin Fields questions here in a minute. I'm not sure. I'll keep scrolling. Let's see. A good point here from Joseph. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see. No, never mind. I'm not going to do it, Joseph. I'm sorry. Your last name. If you put it down in the comments later how to pronounce that, I might give it a try next time. But Joseph says 7-10 would be a lowest point in the season, but we need good position for draft picks. Yeah, I mean, you do need to have some good positioning for the draft, but you're not going to be just saved by the draft. You're going to have to nail free agency, and you're going to have to nail this next round of coaching hires. Absolutely nail it if you want to be competitive next year. And that's the biggest thing right now. The difference between what you're going to get at pick 15 or pick 21, I don't think matters that much, whether you're 7-10 or 9-8 by season's end. If you're not going for the playoffs, it doesn't matter. You're going to get a top 17 pick anyway. So, yeah, it's not great. It really isn't. But unless you're one of the 10 worst teams in football, you're probably not going to vastly change the trajectory of your team with one pick in the draft. So that is my thoughts on that personally. Let's see here. Let's see. Joe Pa says, if Tomlin didn't have a losing season, then why not say the same thing about Ben? Yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier. He's been there the whole time, except for now the last 2 years, obviously, without him, or last year, I should say, where they still managed to scrape out a winning record. Ben Roethlisberger never had a losing season either. And that was really the driving force for it until you get to like 2019, when he didn't play and they still managed 8-8. And then 2020, when he was a shell of himself after the first half of the season and couldn't move anymore. And the offense really, really limited what the team could do moving the ball. It's one of those things too, where honestly, Roethlisberger was the driving force of this team. And I think Steelers fans specifically should, when the Mike Tomlin era ends, you should leave that thinking that Roethlisberger was the key factor to winning championships and being in championship contention for many years. not that Tomlin didn't have a role in that with how he managed the team and everything, but it's really when you have a franchise quarterback and you can win championships. I mean, it is never, you have never seen a team that just dominates on a yearly basis, is a perennial Super Bowl threat without a superstar quarterback. You haven't seen it throughout time. I mean, there have been a few outliers here and there, just a couple, but you've got to have a franchise quarterback. You've got to have an all-pro type quarterback if you want to be in contention on a yearly basis. It's just how it's got to go. Steelers aren't there. Doesn't matter who the coach is. Belichick doesn't have one now. He stinks. I mean, Tomlin doesn't have one now. Things aren't going great. It doesn't look good for Tomlin. Has he done things better than Bill Belichick? Yeah, maybe. Belichick did beat him, though, 2 weeks ago. So, I don't know. It's tough. Tough spot we're in here, Steeler fans. Let's see here. Derpy Entertainment says, I really think if Kenny is back against the Bengals, he'll be fired up. Hey, I wouldn't doubt that. I think he gives him a better chance to win than Trubisky or Rudolph does. Absolutely, but it's going to be a long shot for him to come back. We'll see if he can get back from tightrope surgery in that short amount of time and be effective. That's the other thing. And in a season also where things are kind of falling apart due to injuries, do you really want to rush him back? I don't think so. I wouldn't play him this week. I don't care if the doctors say, okay, yeah, you can play, but risk of injury is there. Risk of re-injury, risk of aggravation is there. I wouldn't play him, especially if you're planning on bringing him back next year. If you're doing that, don't play him. Don't play him until he's absolutely healthy. But if he does come back against the Bengals, yeah, he'll be fired up. He'll want to show that he's way better than the other options. I think the offense would be better for it too. I really do. Okay, let's see. Reginald Rivers has an interesting proposition here. He says Aaron Curry should stay and be the DC. That's a fun topic. Although I think Steelers fans overall would be like, no more internal hires, please. Let's go get somebody else. Or internal elevations, I guess. But Aaron Curry did come in from the outside of the organization this year to help with the linebackers after the departure of Flores to Minnesota. So, you know, that I don't know if that fixes anything on defense. And honestly, this is Mike Tomlin's defense anyway. So Terrell Austin's probably going to be there again this next year. I don't think he's the biggest issue with this team. If he's coming back, I'm not going to say I hate that. You just got to stay healthier. You've got to be better on the back end. You've got to improve that secondary. You got to improve the safety position, the cornerback position, and Joey Porter's getting kind of left on an island, and it's not working as well recently. And that's to be expected, a long season for a rookie. And I think that you still do have a CB1 of the future in Porter, but you got to add to that. You got to get better at safety. You got to get healthy at linebacker again. This defense is, I'll say it till I die, the Pittsburgh Steelers are not right on defense unless they have an all-pro linebacker or a Pro Bowl level linebacker. They're not right on defense unless they have a Pro Bowl linebacker on their team, and they don't. And if they did, they're not going to be anymore because nobody can stay healthy. And it sucks. It really does. It hurts, but that is the way it is this season. So tough stuff. Sorry, I did pop that back up. Biggie Bronco asks, how's everybody doing? I'm feeling your pain today as well. We lost yesterday too. Yeah. Everybody's in pain here in this chat here. Big E Bronco. I know that you're feeling the pain from a Broncos loss as well, which we appreciated at the time as Steelers fans for hopes that maybe we could find ourselves sneaking into the back end of the playoffs, but still doesn't look like that's going to be a thing. So let's see. Let's see here. This is a good point here from Mark Lancaster. Why use Cowher's records to uphold Tomlin's? This playoff drought is only matched by the pre-Rooney Steelers teams. Yeah, do you really even count? That's kind of what I would get at here too. How much do you even count the one and dones of the Steelers where they just snuck in and weren't really a viable playoff contender. That's been each of the last couple times that they've made it. 2020 and 2022. They just, or excuse me, 2021. They just weren't viable playoff contenders because of Roethlisberger in decline and the team really in decline at that point. So yeah, it's been rough. It really has. And both coaches have had bad spurts now. But Tomlin's kind of kept his afloat by the no losing seasons. It's like you could always have given him a pass because either big time injuries or player production wasn't there, or there's a lot of issues inside the building as far as personalities go, Antonio Brown issues and things like that, coordinator issues. But at some point, the buck stops at the top, and that's where Steelers fans are right now. So, it might be time. It really might be. So, trusting the team, and I know that's hard to do, but I mean, we're not making the decision, so hopefully we can trust them a little bit to make good decisions. Afton for it, is there a veteran wide receiver we could target in free agency who could be that solid leader in the room? Because we really don't have anyone. Allen Robinson was supposed to be that guy, but he's not good enough. I don't think play on the field has to match that, that leadership, on the field, and so I think it's tough to say that he is that guy, and Deontay Johnson is most definitely not that guy. So you got to think about the types of players then who could be that, because their production could still match at least what they're trying to put out there as far as leadership goes. So I just pulled it up while I was talking there about pulled up some of the different players that are free agents next year. I'm just going to list off some of them. I'm not necessarily saying Steelers are going to go out and sign any of these guys or anything like that, but you've got Mike Evans, you've got Odell Beckham Jr., you got Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Cedric Wilson, Kendrick Bourne, DJ Shark, Paris Campbell, Mecole Hardman. I mean, Marquise Brown, Calvin Ridley is an unrestricted free agent next year. Noah Brown, T. Higgins is going to be an unrestricted free agent. Michael Pittman Jr. Let's see here, just rolling down. Chase Claypool, no sir, no thank you. Yeah, that's kind of it for like guys who might be able to produce enough to where you would say, hey, they can be a leader on this team. Mike Evans obviously would be the prize here, right? And I know he's getting a little older, but another 1,000-yard season, he just puts up numbers. So imagine 6'5" Mike Evans and 6'4" George Pickens together on the same team, or T. Higgins and Pickens. That's big time stuff. I like the Tyler Boyd thought here, a slot receiver who's still very good, who has been there, done that, played at Pitt, hometown guy. Maybe he's the kind of guy that they would target if the Bengals can't bring him back, and they know him well. They just got ripped up and down the field by Michael Pittman Jr. Maybe he's a guy that they would go after. Maybe Calvin Ridley, he's explosive and, not being utilized to a wide receiver one potential in Jacksonville, but maybe he eventually could be there. And he's still young, very young, honestly. So, I mean, there's guys out there. Marquise Brown, speedy outside guy. You need that on your team. You're kind of lacking that at an NFL size. So there's some options, Afton. How much are they going to spend? I'm guessing that Tomlin's going to want to put it all together in 2024. And he's going to get the go-ahead on the salary cap from Art Rooney, and they're going to say, Omar, load me up. Give me everybody you can afford. And even some guys you can't, because I'm probably not going to be here that long. Let's push it down the road for Joe Blow replacement and try to get something else in here. Yeah, so maybe they'll spend a bunch of money this offseason, and they need to if they're gonna win. So, or if they're gonna win next year. Builders Live has a good question. What's your thoughts on Highsmith being non-existent since the Raiders and first Browns game? No one is sacking the QB, but what? It's true. Highsmith is the PFF darling of the team because he gets all the pressures, right? He gets all the hits. He forces hurries and things like that, but he doesn't bring in the sacks. Um, he's the quick hurry guy that PFF loves. But yeah, you've got to turn that into sack production. You just have to at this level. And he's not doing that right now. And that's tough. It's a tough spot to be in. But teams are getting the ball out quick. The running game is working for opposing teams. The Colts gashed them with backup running backs. So it's a tough spot for Highsmith too. It's kind of an all-encompassing issue on the defense. And TJ Watt obviously is all world, so he's still going to get his sacks. Highsmith's not all world. He's really good, but he's not elite. So you've got to live with that. And right now it's not up to snuff. It reminds me of another 56. And if you are familiar with the NFL Films production of the Steelers 2008 Super Bowl run, Mike Tomlin getting on Lamar Woodley saying somebody needs to join the pass rush party, and maybe Highsmith needs to join the pass rush party again. Our Highsmith 56 is kind of in a drought like Lamar Woodley was that year, and Woodley turned it around, had a great playoff run, was really a menace in the playoffs, and maybe Highsmith can turn around for next year. This team just needs to get healthy on defense, though. They can't do what they want to do on defense with where they're at from a health perspective. They just can't do it. So also I wanted to mention the title of the show. If anybody knows what that's from, 3-game skid that casts a cloud on the Steelers postseason hopes. Obviously from the America's Game film from NFL Films of the Steelers 2005 Super Bowl run as the 6th seed when they lost 3 in a row before winning 3 in a row to squeak into the 6th seed of the playoffs and then all the way to the Super Bowl. Not saying the Steelers are going to do that here. They don't have that type of talent on this team, and they're too banged up, and they're not coached well enough. But it did happen in 05, so there's precedent for it. Just not the kind of players on this team as were on that team. I think we can say that pretty easily. So let's see here. Gavin Anthony, no, you're actually way off. So here's how it is. So I grew up in a military family. I was born in Turkey. I was raised in North and South Dakota. That's just where Dad was stationed, and he's from Pittsburgh. He's a Yinzer through and through. Brought it to the family. My wife is an Ohio State fan. I didn't really have a college team that I was all super gung-ho on, so I've kind of converted to Ohio State because she's super passionate about them, and I actually live in Asheville, North Carolina. So 3 strikes, you're out there, Gavin. Good guesses, though. I mean, based on the way I talk, I could see how that goes. So any other comments or questions about my my heritage growing up, I'm willing to answer those. But good guesses. If you were going to make educated guesses, I would give you bonus points for that because you got me pegged as far as what I would deal or what my how I present myself, I guess. But yeah, so I'm kind of born into the Steelers love, and then married into the Ohio State love. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I've seen this going around a little bit from different fans and everything. And I think this is a great idea. Would he want to do it? I don't know. Maybe. But Mitchell Green says, I would love to see Hines Ward come in as a coach. Yeah, as a wide receiver coach, I think that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. He would be awesome. And maybe you need a touch of the past to bring back some of the glow there. I mean, Joey Porter was the outside linebackers coach for a while for the Steelers, and that didn't really work necessarily. It wasn't bad by any stretch, but it wasn't amazing either. So, maybe Hines could be different. Maybe somebody on the offense would need to be. Maybe this could be the guy that brings that leadership that we're talking about. So that's a good thought here from Mitchell. I would love to see that. That'd be awesome. Let's see. Let's see here. I'm sorry. I'm looking for. Okay, here's another one from Mitchell. I like your thoughts here, man. Bringing the guys from the past. What about bringing in someone like James Ferry to coach inside linebackers? I mean, they might think about things like that. Now, I don't know. Some people are gonna jump on well, it's just a family business, and we're not making real coaching hires. Maybe that would be the case too. It's tough, absolutely tough. So, let's see. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit further. Richard, or excuse me, no, Justin Space One. What about Justin Fields? I think many fans would love Justin Fields in black and gold. I think he would be an upgrade on what they have now. Could somebody come in and unlock him? Yeah, maybe. He's got a lot of NFL field reading issues, but maybe that's just the offense he's in there too. How's this for a prospect, Steelers fans? Let me know how you feel about this in the comment section. What if the Pittsburgh Steelers trade for Justin Fields, bring him in, and then hire Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator? Whoa, don't kill me. What do you think about that? Justin Fields and Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator to build a Lamar-like offense around Justin Fields with a little bit of tweaks so the Ravens don't know exactly what we're doing. What if we did that? What if we did that? What do you think? I think that could be something that they consider. It really does. It really makes sense to me. So, okay. Wes H says, honestly, who cares about the postseason? Even if we were to make it, we'd be embarrassed. I completely agree. Making it, excuse me, making it to the playoffs isn't the most important thing. Being a good team capable of winning Super Bowls is. Nailed it. Wes H is him. He nailed it. My thoughts exactly. I could just wrap up the podcast right now. Great stuff, Wes H. Really good. Steelers freak. Realizing the team will need several seasons to rebuild will help with expectations. But we can't accept that as Steelers fans. I'm on board with that thought process. It's frustrating to see a team that had potential this year, but we overestimated our own players and our own coaches, obviously. And it's just what's been happening here. So we need to adjust expectations, absolutely. But will we, as a general rule or as a whole? Probably not. Let's see here. Sherry Richards says Kenny Pickett has Neil O'Donnell upside at best. We need a better quarterback for sure. I agree with that. Let's see here. Cecil Music said, or Music, maybe, I don't know. Why does the mainstream media hold Tomlin in such high regard anyways? Am I missing something? It's the quotes. It's the camera. He's good in front of the camera. He knows how to say the right things that get people going. He's honestly still a good coach, guys. He is. I'm not gonna back off of that. I think he's still a good coach. I think that he's got issues outside of his own control, but I also think that he has made a bed that he can't lay in anymore. And it's going to be tough. I think that there were some questionable decisions on his part early on, and then you've got ownership that wants to keep things status quo and try to ride things out because that's how the Steelers do business. And even though Tomlin might have wanted to move on, it didn't happen. So I'm not going to apologize for still thinking that Mike Tomlin could coach a winning team here and could put together something if given the opportunity to do it that way and to build a team. Because I do think that he does at times get the most out of his players. I mean, you can't deny that he's done it in the past. Did he do it this year? No, but every group of players is different. So, if you're a Tomlin hater, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion there. But I'm not going to back off of my stance here that I think Tomlin is still a good coach because I really do. I think the evidence exists for that. And, why the mainstream media thinks that he's all that and a bag of chips, I think it's he's good for the cameras. He's good for the sound bites. And he hasn't had a losing season. I mean, that is something, right? Is it mediocrity at its finest? Yeah, it is. It's the best of mediocrity that there can be. So, I mean, I get frustrations, obviously, and I do think that there's a time and a place to move on, but I do think also that this guy is a good coach. And he would go, I know you don't like to hear it, but if the Steelers let go of him, somebody would snap him up tomorrow if he wanted the job. They absolutely would because he's a good coach and he would turn their franchise around for a little while. Would he be the long-term solution over 15 plus years again? No, probably not. But he could definitely turn a team around. He could definitely turn the Washington Commanders around. He could be a good coach for them. I really do think so. So come at me if you want. That's just how I feel about it. Let's see. Let's see here. Wes H winning against Cincy. That's funny. Cincy is winning that game 35-10. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, let's go down here and see what we've got near the bottom. Richard Jankowski says, we don't want a good coach. We want a great coach. We want championships. I feel you. Go find me one. Go find me one. I'd love one too. But I think Tomlin can get you to championship contention. Will he win the game and when it matters most? Maybe not. But I don't know. All right. Hey, it's been great. It has been awesome to talk with you guys tonight. And I apologize that I didn't have a guest on with me for the back and forth banter, but we got a lot of questions to answer. We got a lot of talking done and a lot of venting done. And I am 100% in the venting category. It is frustrating to be a fan of this team right now. It's a kind of a dark spot because it's time to move on with some things, but what are we going to get when we move on? That's always the question. It's always the question, but it has to happen eventually. And I think the time is now for some moving on. And I hope you guys can come back this next week against the Bengals team on Sunday and still watch this team. I know it's tough, but I hope that you'll be able to watch them with me and we can have more good conversations about them. I'll be back on the Steelers Q&A on Saturday this week because it is a Sunday game for the Steelers, and we'll have the recap live on Sunday after that. So join me on Saturday morning at 8:30-ish this next weekend. We'll see what we can do. I will be out of town, so we'll talk about that. If it's not me, then we'll get somebody to fill in for me, but we'll have another show next week for you. All right. Thank you to all who joined in and talked with me today. It was a lot of fun. We will talk to you next time here on the Steelers Q&A. Stay tuned to the Steel Curtain Network for all of your Pittsburgh Steelers news and notes. Talk to you next time.